Well, hello, Austin.
Hello, bonjour.
Bonjour. Or should we say buenos dias?
Buenos dias, yes. Good morning, or buenos tardes,
Or
because
buenas
it's
tardes.
afternoon.
Yeah,
Yes.
we've got polyglots
That's
here.
right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
I just cannot wait to share this information that we have for
Yes,
our
ma'am.
folks today.
Yes, ma'am.
And I would love to jump right into it,
Yes.
but let's let the people know who you are and what
Oh,
you're
okay.
passionate about. What is Austin about? I know the great man, but I really want the listeners to know who you are and
Okay.
why that matters.
All right. All right. Well, my name is Austin Thompson. I'm going to keep it short. I am an elected city councilman with the city of Lawrenceville. Served last year as deputy mayor for the city of Lawrenceville. I'm in the third of 4 years of my term, my first term on the city council. And for the last 15 years, outside of politics, I've been a business consultant. I've been consulting primarily with startups, pre launches and startups, individuals, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, innovators, those who are enthusiastic about starting businesses
Yes.
in whatever space they're looking to start a business in, whether it's a business from home or a business from a physical space, bricks and mortar. I assist entrepreneurs with the business planning process, meaning I write business plans, I do the research for business plans from cover to cover. I work on the marketing analysis, studying the economic cycle to determine if the economy long term will sustain the business.
That's
Looking at
very important.
That's right. And looking at the industry as well, doing an industry analysis, because it's one thing to look at the economy, right? The economy, you think about it on a larger scale because it encompasses so many different aspects. But when you look at the specific industry, right, you
Yeah.
talk about the U.S. economy, but you're in real estate.
Yeah.
So then we're going to look at the real estate industry, which is a component of the overall economy.
That's correct.
What does real estate look like now? What does real estate look like a year from now? What does real estate look like 5 years from now?
Right.
Right? And a lot of that depends on disposable income. A lot of that depends on the employment rate.
Yes, it does.
It depends on the health of the economy. It depends on so many different things, right? So I really help business owners, whether young or whether upstarts or existing businesses.
Yes, 16 veteran businesses.
That's right. My recent client is in business 25 years. They're grossing 10 million a year. A small shipping company in Lithonia. They're looking to gross up to 25 million in the next 5 years. I just assisted them with policies and procedures and with strategic planning. And I have a client that's now launching an online beverage business,
Oh,
right?
wow.
Starting with wines. So you have young upstart, you have a business that's been operating for 25
That
years,
sounds really interesting.
right? Oh,
Starting
yeah.
online wine
Yes, online winery.
storytelling.
So that has been a very educational research project.
I bet, because you have my mind turning, and I'm thinking, what would that
Yes.
entail, and what does that mean?
Yes.
I mean, I love wine.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to be disciplined about my alcohol consumption, especially as you come to wine. But you know how it is. We get invited to one event
I
and another
know, I
event, and the
know.
next thing you know is one glass. I mean, I'm a social drinker. I just
Right.
don't sit at home and start drinking.
Well,
But
the French says, right? At least one glass of red wine is good for you.
well, I knew where
At
you
least what
were
they say,
going with
right?
this.
At least one. Now, when you get past one, I mean, you just have to determine.
Now we're in trouble. Now we're in trouble.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
thank you so much for that introduction.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
now that our audience knows who you are and what you do, I would say let's dive right into it.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
Councilman Austin and I were just having a conversation about something we observe each in our own right and field, right? People would come to me as a real estate agent and they would say, Marie, I need a new place. I built out this entire place and now my landlord won't renew my contract and I need to find a new spot, right? And I'm thinking, why were there not terms in the contract that allow you to amortize that build out over the course of a lease to allow you to recoup the improvement you've done to somebody else's building, but still keep you profitable? That's because these conversations didn't happen from the beginning.
Right.
Another thing I observe is people would buy land and then it wouldn't even be a year. They would buy land for the purpose of developing that land. And it wouldn't be a year, and they have to turn around and sell that piece of property because they did not have the right conversation to begin with, whether they didn't listen to the professional or the agent helping them, or whether they just went at it blindly because they had the cash and just bought the land. Now, they haven't done any testing, they haven't done permitting, they don't even know what a perk test is, they don't know that they needed a survey. So I'm bringing Austin today because these are conversations that he has with entrepreneurs, landowners, builders, developers, people in various capacities today. How do we help our communities have the right conversation from the start to save them from very costly mistakes? Is that kind of summarizing the conversation we've had?
I'll say this one word: anxiety.
Yeah.
Anxiety drives many of us to make improper decisions. In haste, we want to move forward.
Yes.
We're anxious.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's make it happen. Let's
make it happen. Let's make it happen. We'll worry about everything else afterwards.
Yeah.
No. Because you see, when you want to worry about everything else afterward, then you also have to think about that worrying about everything else afterward is accompanied with fines and hefty fees.
Hefty fees.
Right? Now, point number one, in my space as an elected official responsible for hundreds of businesses in my municipality, I'm seeing it now from the government side. Whereas before, prior to me being elected, I saw it only through the lens of a consultant, working with entrepreneurs. So now I'm able to oh, yes, well, there's this whole other world out there, right? I always, like in my workshops, I'm starting to incorporate now certain talking points. I tell entrepreneurs who are looking to launch their business with a bricks and mortar, a physical space. That's what a bricks and mortar is, a physical space into which your customers will walk in and out, right, to do business with you.
Correct.
Do not sign a lease with a landlord based on your anxiety, just being anxious to get something going. Because if you have not allowed that lease to be reviewed by an attorney, not your cousin, your auntie, your college roommate who read a couple of law books, in school, you have to let an attorney look through that lease to understand the terms and conditions, what the landlord is indemnifying, exempting themselves from. There's so many things to consider. Now, you can have a lease of 1 or 2 pages. You can have a lease of like 10 pages or hundreds of pages, right? The legalese, the legal language, sometimes is overwhelming to many of us, right? To really fully comprehend. So we really need to do the due diligence of allowing an attorney to review that lease. Now, when we're starting a business, when we're launching a business, I am not surprised, but I'm disappointed that many entrepreneurs launch businesses without a budget, without fully understanding the costs that are associated with launching a business.
Exactly.
Now,
or some would say God will provide. Like,
God
what
will
are
provide.
we talking about? Like, God provides, but come on.
God provides.
This is a business.
Yes, but God is providing you with the common sense.
Yes.
To do the right thing.
The common sense, the resources, the
resources,
consultants, the
yes.
agent. I mean, come on.
He is providing those resources for you. And no disrespect to my religious and spiritual friends,
Yes.
I mean, we have to.
We are religious. Come
Yeah,
on.
we are. I mean, I'm spiritual. I'm very spiritual. I believe in a higher power, but you know what? I also believe in fully understanding what I'm getting myself into.
That's right.
Right. And I explain to entrepreneurs, and I say this. I emphasize, please do not sign a lease before you fully understand, because who's responsible? There's a thing called the division of labor, right? In the project management world, right? Who's responsible for what? Is the landlord responsible for XYZ, or are you responsible for XYZ? When you're building out a space that you do not own, that means you're building out a space that you are renting, leasing, that somebody else owns, that they're leasing to you. It's understandable they are going to try and put all the expenses on you.
Yes.
HVAC, electrical, the build out of walls, all of the other components to building out, right? That physical space.
Plumbing.
So, yeah, exactly. Zoning laws. Do not build out anything. Don't even put a nail into the wall, not one nail, unless you have contacted the planning and zoning, or the planning and commission department of a city or the county in which you are opening that business, right? Yeah. There are requirements. If you're in a county, you have to have a fire marshal come in to do the inspection. They have to check the sprinkling systems. They have to check the electrical systems, and so on and so forth. There are things that you have to do before you get what is called a certificate of occupancy, right? That certificate of occupancy will allow you now to move on to the next steps, and then eventually take that to get your business license from the county or city, and then be able to open your business, right? Not every physical space is zoned the same. Some are zoned, of course, if you're zoned commercial, right? What type of commercial model can you have? Now, I've had a recent situation where someone rented or they leased a space. It was zoned as a community center.
Right.
In a community center, you can schedule classes, instructional sessions, small sessions, and that's pretty much, it's very limited, right? Because it's a community center. No events of any type are supposed to be held in a space that's zoned as a community center, right? Or else you'll be fined. Code enforcement.
You mean we can't throw a party there because now our community or somebody wants to throw a party?
No
and
weddings,
we can make money
no
on
wedding
it?
receptions, bat mitzvahs, birthday parties, anniversary parties, unless you approach the county commission board or the city council, right, of that municipality or of that county, and you get what is called a special use permit, a SUP, right? In some cities, they're called there are other terms, right? What the special use permit does, it gives you that opportunity now to turn that community center into an event space, right? So you got to understand a lot of these things. There's so much more to it, right?
Yeah.
That I cannot really discuss in this time frame of this interview. But what I am trying to implore here is that the homework has to be done.
Yes.
The signing of the lease you have to put a pause on signing a lease until you fully understand the terms and conditions of the lease. There's something that's called a CAM, right? And the CAM is the maintenance of the facility and the area, common area, right? Common area maintenance. The landlord will charge you for the CAM, right? It's been happening to the businesses in my city, right? Where now the occupants, the renters of the facility has had those charges put back on them, or those costs put back on them. You have to understand what the CAM is.
Right.
Okay, what does it cost to maintain this plaza or this building? And that's landscaping, that's cleaning, that's the maintenance to the roof,
External lights.
external lights, for security purposes. So you there's so much you have to understand, and I get it. So many of us, we've always had this goal of ours, this dream.
Own my own business.
Own my own business.
Opening my
I wanna own my
doors, a
own
grand
business, right?
opening,
Exactly. I want to be like, like Bill Gates,
It's
I want to be
noble.
like Mark Zuckerberg, I want to be the next so and so and so. Jeff Bezos or whatever, right?
Yeah,
whoever you idolize as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. But you've got to understand there are steps, necessary steps, important steps to being an entrepreneur. Now, when you are building out a space and you have not contacted the Planning and Commission Board, Planning and Zoning, and you're building out a space, you are actually in violation.
Yeah, you're
right?
in violation.
Because you're adding walls, you're tearing down walls, you're running electrical lines, you're putting in lights, and you're doing all these things.
What are the fines on something like that?
Oh my goodness. It depends on the municipality. It depends on the county. But I've had someone who ran into, like almost $2,000 in fines. Now, here's the thing. You got to understand this too. You might be opening a business in a county or in a municipality. There is something like I'll give you an example in Lawrenceville, where I serve as a city councilman. We have the city limits of Lawrenceville, and then you have unincorporated Lawrenceville, right? Anything in unincorporated Lawrenceville is serviced by the county, right? But it's still the city of Lawrenceville. You're still the city of Lawrenceville. But the city limits, right, in any municipality is governed by the city and the city council, right? So now if you're opening up a business in an unincorporated area of a city, you have to deal with both the county
and the city at the same time.
And the city, right? Now you might be in the downtown area, and you might still be in the city limits, but not the downtown area, right? I know, it sounds kind of weird, right? But this is why you have to approach the local government in the county or the city in which you are opening that business, right? You have the downtown area, you have special regulations and arrangements that applies to businesses in a downtown area.
For sure.
Right? And then you have the city limits, right, that are not part of the downtown area that governs what you do in that particular area. And then you have the unincorporated within the city. I know. You're probably like, scratching your head, right?
What does that mean?
Yeah,
what does that mean for the layman? Unincorporated.
Unincorporated just means there isn't a charter that governs that city of Lawrenceville, right? The city limits, right? You have, like, if you have Decatur, right? You have the downtown Decatur area. The charter
It is a good
governs that downtown, that specific geographical area of Decatur that is designated as the downtown area.
Right.
And then you have unincorporated or Decatur, that part of the city that's outside the downtown area, right? Like you have downtown Atlanta, metropolitan downtown Atlanta, and then you have Atlanta, which is outside the downtown area that is covered by Fulton County.
Yes.
Right? So you like you might be driving through Atlanta on 285, going through Atlanta, but that area now, it depends on what side of the highway.
Yeah.
It might be services to the roads might be from DeKalb County, or it might be Fulton County, right?
Right.
If you're within the city limits, that's going to be serviced by the city, right? It gets very hairy, and this is why you just don't rush to open a business, open a space.
Why is this not happening fast enough?
Yes.
Let me ask you this, and this is a situation that a current client has run into. They initially bought 2 properties in Gwinnett County, Loganville specifically, with another agent, and after the house closes, they find out that they cannot use it for the purpose for which they bought it, which was to run a home health business, right? What could somebody like that have done to prevent this whole thing from happening?
What they should have done, and trust me, I've actually
You've heard
deliberated this on the council. If you look to buy a house, right? Now you have houses that are zoned commercial.
Yes.
You have houses that are zoned residential.
Yes.
Right? Residential, you have single-family home, single-family dwelling, multi-family dwelling, so on and so forth. And then you have residential homes, right? So if you purchased a home that is zoned residential, right?
Right.
You cannot just run a business or convert it into a business.
This is going to be my salon, okay?
Right. You can't just run a salon because it's not zoned commercial. Yeah. Zoning commercial means it's the business that you can the use of the facility is either for a residential dwelling, meaning you're just going to live there, not occupy a business, or establish a business, or it's zoned commercial, meaning you're going to turn this into a place of business. This is why in certain cities and counties, if you are a construction worker, you just can't park your construction vehicles in your residential spaces, right, with decals and have a sign up just saying Smith Construction,
right,
because the property is not zoned commercial, right? And again, this is why the homework has to be done. The questions have to be asked before you even invest $1 in converting, building out, before you even sign a lease. You've got to do the homework.
Yeah, I agree.
And this is something that I'm even sitting down with entrepreneurs to make sure they understand.
Yes.
Because, again, we all are anxious to move forward. And sometimes people say, oh, well, let's say, for instance, I've heard, in Lawrenceville, I've heard people say, oh, well, in Decatur, they allow me to do this. And when I came from New York, we can do this. Well, you came from Decatur, you came from New York. The laws that have been put into place in New York and Decatur do not affect how you do business in Lawrenceville, and vice versa, right? So you can't make those generalized comparisons.
Yeah. I'm just gonna play devil's advocate for a second. Then the laws, but why are you trying to make the citizens' life hard with all these laws?
And we do get those questions. We do get those questions because laws keep order. You know,
Yeah.
laws keep order. You know, you don't really want, people to just come and just start doing things
Right.
without having zoning in place, without having these laws in place, right? I've been on the council where someone wanted to get a rezoning done for a residential property that they wanted to use as a tax office, right?
Okay.
They already bought the home, they started to build out, and then they decided to come to the city,
What?
and then realize no, because on that section of the street, it's zoned commercial. So you now can't take a home that's on the side of the street that's zoned zoned residential, right? Is on that side of the street is zoned residential, excuse me. Now you want to take that home and make it a commercial space. Now, you can't take a home that's on the side of a street that's zoned residential and convert that into a commercial space. So we had to deny the business owner, right? And again, and these things should really be well thought out before you move forward. I personally went in because I visit a lot of the businesses in my area, and I see this a lot from immigrant businesses. I'm an immigrant from
too.
South America, from Guyana. In Guyana, you could open up a stall in front of your house. You could sell fish, fried chicken, baked bread, baked goods,
Canned
drinks,
goods.
canned goods, juice, whatever. Nobody would bother you. You don't need to go down to the city to get a license.
That's what you call real freedom.
Yeah. You don't need to call the health department and get a health certificate or anything. No, you just open up a stall. That's how it is much in the Caribbean, right?
Yeah,
in all of the Caribbean.
Everywhere.
In Africa, right? Latin America, right? In the United States of America. Now, I don't know about Canada and any other country. I've lived here, 48 years. I can only speak about, United States of America. In the United States of America, you just can't build out things in your house and just start doing business. You have to understand the laws that are in place, business license, zoning, and all these other components that come to operating a business from a physical space, And I remember a gentleman I think he's from Guatemala, and I walked into his space, and he's at it, he's hammering, and he's doing. I mean, they did a considerable amount of work.
Are you kidding me?
And they still had a considerable amount of work to go. And I told him, I asked him one basic question. Have you paid an architect to take architectural plans to planning and development so they can look at and see what you're building out? No, I didn't do that. Okay. Did you have any type of conversation with planning and development, right? In the city of Lawrenceville. This was in the city of Lawrenceville, right? Within the city limits. No, he didn't. I said, all right. I said, sir, I would suggest you stop everything you're doing and go and have a conversation with planning and development before you do anything else. Because you might be doing, and I asked him, what type of business are you opening here? And I think it was like some sort of grocery outlet, convenience store or something like that. But first, and here, go back to my earlier conversation, is this space zoned for a grocery outlet? It might not be, right? So that conversation was not had. Now, I left, I went away and I came back. Maybe like a week and a half, almost 2 weeks later. And I remember revisiting the space. I walked in and I noticed more work was done.
Wow.
And I was looking for the gentleman. The door was open, so I walked in. I'm like, excuse me, hello. And he greeted me from the top of the inside space. He was like coming, he came through the wall like he was doing something behind the wall. I'm like, oh. I'm like, how you doing? And he recognized me from the previous visit. Yeah. And I said, hey, have you had any chance to go and visit planning and development? He said, no, I didn't get any chance to. So I said, all right. And the previous visit, I left my card, and I went back and I left the information for planning and development. And when I went back the third time to visit him, he still hadn't gone to planning and development. So I don't know what happened. I did alert planning and development, because if court enforcement drives by and they see activity and they see things going on, and they ask you questions and you didn't have these things done,
they close you down.
they will close you down.
Yeah.
They will close you down. They will shut you down. They will literally tell you absolutely no activity from this point forward.
Yeah.
And not only will they close you down, they will
fine
slap you with a heavy fine, right? So to sum it up, I would just say, people, either reach out to someone who can help you, who can assist you. And let me tell you something. I mentioned a budget. Some folks might say, well, I'm trying not to spend as much money as I want to. It takes money to start a business.
It does.
It takes money. It takes serious money to start a business. And you really need to have a budget in place. You really need to understand your costs that you are incurring to launch this business. And hey, create a budget line item for a consultant or an advisor that you can sit down with and discuss these things. Create a line item for an attorney who can review your lease before you sign it.
Yeah.
Create a line item to sit down with a real estate agent, a real estate representative who can go through the real estate aspects, of that. Create a budget line item for someone who can help you draft a business plan, so you can understand what your business is going to look like 3 to 5 years down the road.
Absolutely.
Okay? What I'm saying is, a budget is a plan for spending money. If you are serious about being successful in entrepreneurship and your journey in joining that ecosystem, you will do the due diligence, do the right thing, because you don't want to lose money. You don't want to begin losing money before you even open the door to your business.
Yep.
Right? But you want to make sure you conserve as much money by not paying thousands of dollars in fines, right? And have that money invested into building out and developing after you've done the right thing. Get your certificate of occupancy, get your permits, the right permits to operate, the business license, and the planning and development department. Planning and development department, whether it's the county or the city. Make sure you visit those departments before you do anything. They will direct you to the area of the website, or they will give you a packet with all the information you need. Make sure you schedule meetings. It costs nothing to sit down with someone in planning and development. It costs nothing. It costs everything if you don't. So make sure you have those meetings with the planning and development representatives so they can go over everything with you from A to Z, 1 to infinity. Even if you have to schedule one meeting, a second meeting, a third meeting, make sure you understand that, right? And that's what this conversation is all about. It's about enlightening you on the proper pathway to launching a successful business and mitigating any fines and penalties that you will incur if you don't do the due diligence and take the right steps.
Wow, that was a lot.
Yeah.
That was a lot of value.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for sharing all that. And I love for people to walk away with actionables when they listen to these podcasts, right? So one question I'll ask, and another one will follow, would be, how do they schedule a meeting with planning and development in the city of Lawrenceville, for example?
Okay. You would go to the city's website. It's www.lawrenceville lawrencevillega.org. lawrencevillega.org.
All right.
If you're going to Gwinnett County, then you look up the Gwinnett County's website. I'm not sure if it's org or .com, but you can Google it. Google Gwinnett County or government of Gwinnett County. If you're doing it for DeKalb, whether it's Chatham, if it's Bartow or Barrow or Fulton County, Google Fulton County government, Barrow County government, right? City of Decatur, city of Lithonia, city of Sandy Springs. Just Google the city, and it'll give you the link to the website. Go to the website. There's a contact information. Call the Planning and Development Department. Schedule a meeting. Say, hey, my name is John Smith. Mary Johnson, and I'm planning to open up a business in your city, in your county, and I wish to set up an appointment so I can come and discuss this with you, right? And the city will then, direct you to the steps you need to take. Again, by giving you the packet, they'll go over the packet. It's a lot to take in. It's a little daunting in the beginning because
what I was just going to say. For the people that are overwhelmed by such a process.
Yeah, it is. It is because this is the first time you're doing it, right? Or maybe not. But you always want to have that first step. Step number one is have that meeting with planning and development. The planning and development department, whether it's the city or the county. And then they will direct you, right, to the steps you need to take before you even hire a general contractor, before you even sign a lease. Please, 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 I implore you to have that conversation first. It will save you thousands of dollars in fines.
And I would even add on the topic, it's very important what you just said. Like before you hire somebody, I would even say before you hire an agent, and I'm an agent, and I would circle you back to all of these things.
Right.
But before you do all that, like Councilman just said, you could make the call to city planning and zoning and find out even if there are specification as far as size, because one of the most frustrating thing for me when I exercise in the commercial real estate world is asking a business owner, how big of a space do you need? And they'll be like, I don't know. I don't know. Well, how am I supposed to find you a space that you don't even know how big that's supposed to be? Like, am I just supposed to give you, we have access to several hundreds and thousands of spaces.
Right.
For me to know that this is the right one for your business, I need some specification.
Exactly.
For example, when you're talking about a dealership, for a auto dealership or auto repair company, you're looking at specific sizes. You're looking at the size of the lot in certain counties where they would say you must have an acre or more.
Right. Or here's the thing. The city is not allowing any more auto dealerships in the city.
Right.
That's another thing. Before you even invest any money, contact the city. Hey, I'm John Smith. I'm looking to establish an auto dealership, some space to accommodate up to 80 cars in my auto dealership. The city would say, well, call planning and development and have that discussion with them. Or the city would say, I'm sorry, but we're not allowing any more auto dealerships in the city limits.
Right.
So you got to have that conversation.
You got to have that conversation. So now we're not looking at, somebody is exiting an auto dealership in one particular area because, they're not renewing, for example, or that area is being converted into something else. And now you're looking to be buying that space and now sitting on it and having to demo the entire space, rezone perhaps to make it resellable. Now you're sitting on a pile of, instead of money making, of money dump. So this is all the stuff that we really want to help you avoid in this conversation.
Yes.
Now, with all that being said, Austin, for the persons that's not a DIYer or for sale by owner, no pun intended, how do they reach out to you, and how much do they budget for that type of service?
I would say if you're building out your budget, the type for the service for someone to do the research for you, I would say budget anywhere from 3 to 5,000. It may not take the full 3 to 5,000, but budget that. It depends on the amount of information. It depends on the city. It depends on the county. Just budget that. And you want to make sure that you have enough in your budget to cover all the things you need that I mentioned, the line item, this, that, and the other, But you want to be able to make sure, because the research is going to come back with options, is going to come back with recommendations, is going to come back with, the person who's doing the research may not recommend general contractors and architects, but they'll say, well, you'll need an architect because planning and development will require a blueprint, or what we call a rendering, right, of the area, right, that you're looking to build out with all the dimensions and so on. So, make sure you have a good budget together, and you definitely take that seriously. We really have to understand that these steps are necessary.
Yes.
These steps are necessary. Don't lose $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in fines where you gotta pay those $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in fines,
And then you still have to.
and then you're back at zero, and then you got to pay another $5,000 to $10,000 to get work done. And that's just the drafting, and then the work. Then you got to pay for the plumber, you got to pay for the electrical work, but you pay your general contractor who gives you a budget, right? So save yourself money by taking the right steps before you do anything.
That's very well. I've learned a lot. I hope you guys have as well. Please let's end this on a great note. We should do this again, because
Yes.
I know we haven't covered everything that you and I talk about often when we get together.
Yes.
Right. So let's leave your contact information if you're comfortable with that. How do they reach you?
Right.
And yeah.
And like I said, it costs nothing to have a conversation, right? A few minutes on the phone, 404-587-3949. Again, 404-587-3949. And I'll leave you my email address.
Yeah,
Austin.
I can definitely have it added to.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, comments.
Austin Thompson JR@gmail.com. Austin Thompson JR@gmail.com. All right. And just reach out to me. Say, hey, Austin, I heard your interview. I just got a couple of questions. And, and I'll reply to you. I'm in the business of helping people achieve their dreams. I'm in the business of helping people take a vision and convert that into a tangible output. That's a business. So doing this the right way is the only way that I will recommend.
That's right. Anyway, if your plan is to build a business and, make a living in this great this country that gives us the opportunity to do so.
That's right.
Right. So if you've enjoyed this podcast and interview, please do comment more. That way I know to bring on guests like Austin to give you the real deal, the real information that we're all just starving to get, but you may not have how many hours in the day to go on the internet and Google from a plethora of information, yet that's not tailored to your specific areas. Right. So that would be all. Please like, share with your friends, comments, engage, so we know that we're reaching you, that we're answering the questions that you have in your minds, in your businesses, and we are able to address them.
That's right.
And thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining me
No,
today.
my pleasure.
I think I owe you dinner or something.
I appreciate you inviting me. I appreciate, the invitation, and I look forward to coming back again.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you.